Time for a little 4th of July speak. Unfortunately for the American people, the great masses of America suffer with Stockholm Syndrome. What they haven't been told about the rebellion, the mutiny, if you will, of the American Revolution is that the patroons of England and France and Holland, the Netherlands, installed their cantonal system in the United States. The cantons of America. Now, what you'll begin to understand when you begin to research and educate yourself on what the cantons of Europe were all about, and the cantons of Switzerland, the cantons of Germany, and the cantons of Britain, is that the land grabbing invasion of Turtle Island was done by a whole bunch of mercenaries, mercs, and people that had been given, granted, and patented vast tracts of land by the English crown. In other words, George Washington, old Hickory there, the guy with the wooden teeth, he was an anointed President General. Imagine that. Look that up. You can do some research under the patroons and President Generals. General Washington was a president. General Washington was a President General, anointed and appointed to be the new American dictator. And this is just the history of it. But when the American people fail to recognize it, that's where it gets really lame and it gets really twisted and sick in the head. They've got these functional morons going around with constitutions in their pockets, but they don't even understand how antiquated and backwards and basically nullified the American Constitution is, and it wasn't worth very much from the very start. It was so screwed up in the first place, they had to go in and add a bunch of amendments. And then when they added the amendments, they didn't give any enforcement teeth to the contract. Freedom and liberty on the 4th of July? Yeah, sure, right. That's, the joke's on you. And here's my proof. Here's the proof that the joke's on you, America. When the new American Republic rose like a phoenix from the American insurrection and mutiny, the rebellion, there was about 2.5 million people living in the 13 colonies, which became the original 13 states. The Supreme Court of the United States had 9 justices for 2.5 million people. Well, today we've got 9 justices for 325 to 330 million people. And here's the sick, twisted part. Over 99% of all cases that ever get filed in the U.S. Supreme Court get thrown in the trash can. 99% of all cases arguing constitutionality matters that go to the U.S. Supreme Court get thrown in the dumpster. That's the reality of it, folks. That's the facts. So you think you're free and you think you got liberty and this is the home of the brave and, you know, Donald Trump's bikers and the ultra left-wing socialist Antifas? I mean, folks, come on. You better start waking up. You've been flim-flammed. While they've got you watching the bikers attack the Antifa in Portland, when they've got Trump's thugs blocking the entrance to the Red Hen restaurant, and they're blocking you with every imaginable distraction they can cook up. Hillary Clinton under subpoena. The subpoena that was in place when she destroyed all that evidence reveals clearly that she's a felon. It's not if she's guilty. The question is, why is she being protected? The 4th of July, you got freedom? Yeah, sure you do. Hillary Clinton was under subpoena. That evidence had been subpoenaed, then she destroyed it. That's what you call felonies, Mr. Mueller. That's what you call felonies, Mr. Comey. That's what you call felonies, Mr. Sessions. And then we've got this report that Mueller blocked the investigation into 9/11 and the Saudi Arabians. That's probably directly connected to the triad in uptown Houston. All the Saudi Arabians that were showering money on George Bush and Dick Cheney. And James Baker III and Charlie Wilson and Joanna Herring King and that whole uptown Houston mafia that were running all the secret wars from the Galleria and the Houstonian estates. How about that, Robert Mueller? That's pretty interesting. You were head of the FBI during them days, pal. He was the director of the FBI while they covered up for the triad. Just exactly the same way they're protecting Hillary Clinton from being arrested for the felonies she committed when she destroyed all that subpoenaed evidence. The reason Hillary's not being prosecuted is because she's got CIA Teflon. Isn't this correct, Donald J. Trump? This might seem like a harsh video, but until you people start understanding the cantonal land grab, the massive land grab of the patented and granted lands of America by the oligarchs and the 1% of the royals of Europe. Make America great again? Come on, Donald Trump. Let's give it back to the indigenous natives. You want to make America great again? Return all the stolen land from the Tuscarora and the Cherokee and the Mohegan and the Mohawk and the Algonquin and the Iroquois. The Penobscot, the Onondagan. You want to make America great again, Donald Trump? Are you sure about that? America, you live in a cantonal system of land grab. That's why you've got all these national parks and state parks, and you've got every other imaginable save the trees and save the water projects going on all over the country. Nature Conservancy, there's your investment bankers for the cantonal system. Nature Conservancy and, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of others. Like the Adirondack Park, save the Adirondacks and save Oregon. Oregon's got save, Oregon Wild and New York Wild and all these environmentalist groups. That's what Barack Obama was doing up there in the Adirondacks when he went on his fishing trip at Saranac Lake. He was meeting with the proponents of New York's cantonal forests, the socialist communist park system in New York, which is being mined massively by the Rothschild family. New York Mining is owned by NICO. New York Mining is owned by iMetals, which is owned by Rothschild Natural Resources Corporation in Paris, France. Imagine that. The cantonal systems of New York. And all my little goofball used-to-be buddies up in the park, they love that Adirondack Park. They can go out there and shoot their guns and go hiking, and they just love that communist park. And then they stomp around acting like a bunch of 3%ers. They wouldn't know 3% if it slapped them in the head. Just like most of these biker thugs that are blocking the entrance to the Red Hen, and all these other bikers for Trump. You see, Mr. Trump, If you don't like my long hair, pal, it ain't none of your damn business. Is that a man or a woman? I got a message for you, Donald Trump. But let's get back to the point. This country's being flim-flammed and bamboozled and distracted at every juncture. They're distracting because they don't want everybody to figure out how douchebag bank, how Deutsche Bank and all the other bankster gangsters robbed this nation for trillions. The nation's been raped and robbed beyond belief. And Donald Trump and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and the Bushes and Jimmy Baker III, their old James Baker, and the triad in uptown Houston, Mr. Mueller and Mr. Comey, you know, HSBC Bank and UBS and Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo and Bank of America. The list just goes on and on and on. All the great, big, huge campaign donators are the people who looted the nation. Now, when are we going to get the swamp draining, Donald Trump? That's a pretty damn interesting connection between Mueller and the Bin Ladens and Mueller and the Saudi Arabians that pulled off 9/11. That's a really interesting connection to the triad. You know, Adnan Khashoggi and Ghabanifar and the boys. Good old George Bush. And Hillary Clinton, you know what? You destroyed all that email, all that subpoenaed evidence, because you're some kind of a dog, Hillary. And I don't care how much CIA Teflon you got. I could care less. You and your little pals that sold all that uranium to Russia and all those Saudi Arabian contributions. You see, Saudi Arabia and Russia financed Hillary Clinton and Bill on a massive scale, right along with the proponents of the triad. You need to start taking a look into the sources of money of the Bush crime family and the Clinton crime family from Russia and Saudi Arabia and other destinations around the world, like the Noriegas and the Marcoses and every other two-bit cheap thug that they put the touch on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the 4th of July, and that's my broadcast. I'm going to wrap it up. And as a last word, you better study the cantons of America, the cantonal land grab, how America has been communized through the community of the communal forests of the cantons of America. I said it right. The communal environmental, the communal pinko parks, the communistic environmental land grabs all over this nation. You know, national monuments and, you know, U.S. forest and wildlife and the U.S. park system, our wilderness preservation.